Oh, you might have heard. Court storming is back in the news because of how Duke star Cal Filipowski got caught up in one after this weekend's loss at Wake Forest. Before, it looks like I'm just going to be discussing it. Deadleg's gone. Before I discuss it in great detail, can we watch it, Nada?
I forgot to load that one up. I apologize.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, never mind on that. You know what? You guys can Google it yourself, Twitter search it yourself. You know what it looks like, probably, if you care. So it's a big game at Wake Forest. Wake on the wrong side of the bubble. Steve Forbes had just called out Joe Lunardi earlier in the week, told him to stay in his lane. He's fed up with bracketology. He's fed up with the net. He's fed up with all of this stuff, people not properly respecting his team. So they end up, big home game with Duke. They win it. And I was going to say right at the buzzer, but technically it was even before the buzzer. You have a group of students, let's call it several dozen, certainly could have been 100. By the end of it, who knows? But a lot of people, several dozen, running full speed onto the court. Duke players and Wake players are still on it. Cal Filipowski right in the middle of it, ends up limping off the court, says afterward that he does have a knee injury, and even implied that it was intentional and personal what these Wake Forest students did to him. I can't speak to that. I can't get in front of inside anybody's head. My instincts are to say Wake Forest fans weren't running out there to hit Kyle Filipowski as much as they were running out there, but whatever. I can't argue with what he believes. Deadleg, I know you got your guitar, and I know you don't care about these things much, but just before I get going, what'd you think of what happened between after the game when Wake Forest beat Duke, and then our latest court storm actually resulted in something that's not ideal?
No. This is a major story, so we're obviously we're gonna give it its due here on the pod. Yes, and I know that because we've talked about this almost annually for a decade plus on the show. I'm going to invoke something that you said on HQ yesterday. I actually looked for this column. I know I wrote it. It's in our old blog system. You cannot find it. It's not on the internet Wayback Machine. But 11 years ago on March 1, so upcoming, we're almost 11 years to the day. So a year before you wrote yours, I basically wrote a column that said, if you want to eliminate court storming, you can try. Probably won't happen, because if you do it, and even if it goes away for a year or two, it'll come back one day. It just will. These are college kids, and you're not going to build a moat around the hardwood. I don't find it to be ultra realistic that you can ever permanently remove it from the game. I'm not opposed to if you want to try and do it. I just don't think realistically that's something that will hold long term. However, if you can get the culture in the sport through flyers you put down on every single student section seat before the game, through multiple public address announcements after the game, through things on the video scoreboard, everything. If anything, maybe it even adds to a weird home court advantage where you keep talking and reminding the student fan base, hey, if we win this game, we want you to storm the floor. You cannot do it at 000. Here's what we want you to do. And what I suggested 11 years ago was, one, obviously you have to have enough security to do all this, but get the other team off the floor as soon as possible. And then maybe even cooler visual would be, and there was actually a small major did this within like the ensuing year, because I remember, because we blogged about it. I just can't remember who did it. You get the entire team out on the center court logo, okay? And then, in fact, Rob Doster had said on Saturday that he had a coach text him this idea. You count down the shot clock again. So or the main scoreboard, whatever, count it down from 20. The other team is now well in the tunnel. And then everyone, if anything, it might be more organized because everyone has a chance to get themselves in order. And then they all run out and they surround the team. Everyone's jumping and the players are waiting for everyone to smother them in joy and happiness. That's what I would like to see try and implement it. It is a potential solution to this. It did happen again. I just can't remember the score. I was looking. Trust me, I was looking on Saturday night while I was on the HQ desk. What happened on Saturday was a complete failure. You saw the ACC come out with a statement, although it didn't say much, to be honest, from ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips. You saw the AD say, we did prepare for this. Obviously, we failed. Undoubtedly, you failed on that event. You can't have players on the floor before it ends. I have zero interest in the Filipowski had it coming. Of course, he didn't. They're not allowed to be on the court. He had a mob coming at him. He was the Jon Snow meme with the army coming at him, okay? So I really am not here for even 1 second of that whatsoever. Hopefully he is okay. And that is my my solution. I know you want to ban it outright. I'm not even objecting to that. I think it is more realistic that you could try through serious means of still allowing the mob mentality of college students in a frenzied moment to say, okay, if we get a chance, here's how we do it, than to say this is banned. Because even if you got to a situation, GP, where it got banned, wouldn't you agree that you could easily see, like, okay, we haven't had a court storm in 2 years, and but look at this, Team X upsets top 5 team, and well, it's been 3 years since we see. I just feel like it would eventually come back, and you might be, dealing with this kind of situation down the road. So in absence of that, why not have a specific protocol in place that, oh, by the way, I think would make for a pretty cool visual overall. And now the floor is entirely yours.
Okay, let me say a few things first. I did talk to Wake Forest coach Steve Forbes earlier today. He hates court stormings, by the way. He does not like them. He says he's been in them and it feels uncomfortable, and he didn't like what happened on Saturday. His suggestion is similar to what you just said. Hey, why can't we continue to let students celebrate with players on the floor after big wins or upsets or whatever, but let's also control it a little more. In other words, we're not going at the buzzer or even before the buzzer, obviously. We're going to get through the handshake lines, and we're going to get the other team off the court. And there's going to be a countdown clock up there, almost like a red light and green light type of thing. And it's like, okay, guys, green light, let's go.
But no Squid Game, just so we're
No. What Forbes said was then if you go at the wrong time, you get immediately shot.
Okay.
That was his suggestion.
Okay.
Steve Forbes did not suggest anybody get shot. We're having fun. His suggestion was something along those lines. Hey, let's get the other team off the court. And then there's a clear signal to everybody. Let's go. It's time to go. It's okay to go. If you go before that, you're in trouble. But if you go after that, let's have a good time. That's his compromise/solution. I'm fine with it. I'm not going to sit here and scream about it. I just I don't know why we have to compromise on this. We don't have to compromise anywhere else. And I'm not trying to argue with you, but you made the statement like we can't build a moat around the court. It doesn't take a moat. It just takes rules. And rules that are enforced. We don't have a moat around NBA courts. We don't have a moat around NFL films. We don't have a moat around NHL hockey rinks, although that would probably be cool if we did do that. We don't have a moat, around the pitch, as they say.
I agree, but those are different clienteles than who is closest to those playing surfaces at a college arena. That's all. And, you have them at football games in college.
I don't care how old these people are. We have laws in this country, and nobody says, well, if you're 19, we'll let you drink and drive. But if you're 30, we can't do that. We don't say, hey, it's just college kids. What are you going to do? Well, no, you can't do this. You can't do this, period. And that's where I'm at on it. I don't understand people trying to rationalize this or people trying to act like it's okay. And this is not going to come across the right way. I know it before I even say it. I don't mean it the way it sounds, but I do mean it. I just don't mean it the way it sounds, but I 100% mean it. I have not seen a person I'm impressed by actually make an argument that says we should continue to allow court stormings, however they happen, the way we always have. There are people who do say that. I'm just telling you, I've never been impressed by somebody who says that. There are certain times people disagree with me, and I'll read them and I go, that's a smart person. That's somebody I respect. That's somebody who I usually agree with, and I disagree with them on this. Maybe I need to reevaluate this. I'm telling you, that has never happened here. Not one time have I ever seen somebody go, GP, I think we should keep allowing court stormings as always. And I go, well, that's a smart person. It never seems like one, unless it's a smart person who has other motives and they're catering to a certain audience. We have entire cable networks built around that. It also exists in social media. But I just take those people, push it aside. I want to be clear, no sensible argument to allow this to continue to happen. None whatsoever. I know it's fun. I guess that's what they tell me. And I know it looks good on TV. Trust me, I work for a network that has shown them a million times. Yeah. All right. I know they look good and people tell me they're fun. I'll take their word for it. But your ability to have fun, I've said this a million times, should stop at the point where you're putting other people in danger. You're putting people at risk. And Cal Filipowski was at risk, and all those Duke players were at risk on Saturday. And just so it's clear that I'm not just saying this because it was Cal Filipowski and Duke, I wrote the same column 9 years ago when it was Kansas and Kansas State. In fact, somebody got in my mentions and said, I wish there was somebody who had the same energy back when it was Kansas, Kansas State. And I'm like, buddy, here's the column from that morning. I did have the same energy. My energy has been consistent on this forever. We are very close legally to getting to a place where student athletes, basketball players, are considered employees of universities. You realize we're going to get there someday, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the sake of this conversation, let's just say we should already be there. Let's just say that what Cal Filipowski amounts to, and all those Duke players are employees of Duke University. That means, follow me here, they were at work. They're working. They're doing their job on Saturday. And immediately when they got done doing their job, 100 people ran directly at them full speed. That's crazy. Imagine if tonight I said, there's more of us than there are of them. That needs to be reflected in the comments. So make sure you're doing that. And we'll talk to you again on Wednesday. Till then, take care. And immediately 100 people ran right at me. That's
that would
crazy.
Be incredible podcasting, actually.
It actually would
happen.
But that's crazy. That's bananas. And that's what we're doing to college basketball players. We don't do it to professional basketball players. We don't do it to professional football players. We don't do it to athletes at any sort of level who above this level. But for some reason, it's just accepted behavior in college. And oh, by the way, to your point about some people trying to blame Cal Filipowski for this, like, well, he shoved them, or, he initiated the contact, or, I actually asked Steve Forbes about this. Wake Forest fans, if you're somebody who has tweeted that, just know that I asked your coach about people blaming Cal Filipowski about this. And do you know what he told me? F that. Yeah. He said, you have no idea how you would react when 100 people are, and I'm paraphrasing here, but this is the point he was making. You have no idea how you're going to react when that many people are running at you full speed. And it's fight or flight. You don't know what's going on or how to get out of this. So anybody blaming Cal Filipowski is outrageous. He was in a weird situation to be in. I don't know the severity of the injury. I guess we'll see Duke's next game, but the fact, but whether he's seriously injured or not at all should not have anything to do with this conversation. What we should all be able to agree on is that he could have got hurt, seriously. And the idea that we would be putting not just all-American basketball players, but potential first-round draft picks, guys who have millions of dollars to make. The idea that we would be putting them at risk by letting people just run onto the court where they do not belong is absolutely asinine. And hopefully this is the thing. Hopefully this is the thing that leads to us doing something to actually change it, because until we change it, this is going to keep happening, and we'll have to keep spending minutes on the podcast on it.
I am skeptical it is the thing. Now, I'm pretty sure on an episode 6-7 years ago, we said the one thing that would change this is if a Duke player got hurt in a court storm. Now we have had a Duke player get hurt. I'm not actually, now that we've arrived at this moment, I'm not convinced that will be the case. The ACC has no punishment. The schools decide on this stuff. So I would presume in the off season, the ACC will be, I think it's the last one. I saw ESPN a graphic up on Saturday. It might be the only high major league that doesn't have any kind of punishment. Financial punishments aren't going to dissuade this from happening. You have had this. It's even more for football, and like the schools turn it into social media promotional things when kids rush onto the field. So I don't think that's going to slow it down. I'm not listen, I personally, I don't need court storming. I don't. Actually stopping it, if it happens, I will genuinely be impressed, and I won't push back if it stops. I think there's a potential workaround to still have a memorable moment with your student body and the players, because I still think that the home team and the players, you're the home team. So it's a really cool thing for you to experience as someone that plays on a college basketball team. Visiting team, you want nothing to do with it. John Shire has also lived with this forever because he was an assistant forever at Duke, and they got court storm like once every 3 times they lost on the road for like 15 years. So you get so sick of it. Painters talked about it this year, etc. I will, for transparency's sake, go ahead, GP. In our Google Doc, it did say let's briefly talk about this. So go ahead, but we can move on whenever you are ready.
I'm not good at briefly talking about anything. All right. That's not my strong point.
And as a side note, Wake Forest is in the court report. I'm due to talk to Steve Forbes in about 30 minutes, but we'll see how that goes.
Okay, I'll say one last thing and then we'll move on. There's a lot of because this is the thing. How would you even stop it? That's what people say. I agree with you. You can't stop it by finding a school there ain't no student in a student section anywhere who cares about their school making having to pay $100,000. You know what them Wake Forest students are saying? Well, I had to give these bastards 80 grand, or more likely my parents
paying me to rush the floor. That's what should be happening.
Yeah, so they don't care, right? Every Wake Forest student is like, I basically covered that myself. All right, I basically covered that myself this year. So the money thing will never work. That's just. I guess it's to
trivia,
sound.
Hold on. Wake Forest trivia time, out-of-state tuition. I'm going to Google right now.
Oh, my oldest son looked at going there. It's not cheap.
71,000. Oh, 62,128. All right, there we go. 62,128.
I was like, man, Forrest, before that thing happened at USC with all those celebrities getting their kids in school, I'd have maybe tried to call in a favor from you, but I ain't going to get you in that spot now. So my son did not go to Wake Forest, but we looked at it. I remember it being not cheap. Not as cheap as in-state tuition in Mississippi. So here's what you do. It's not a money thing, and it's not overwhelm it with security, because they had security at the game. They did nothing, best I could tell.
I know, man. That's all right.
So I don't know what security does, because I'm assuming they had security there. And
quick aside on this, keep with your thought, but I was at the Duke Arkansas game earlier this season, and I tweeted the video of the students rushing the floor, and it's hilarious because the PA announcer goes, "When the game is over, please don't rush the floor," and like everyone laughed, and then they did it anyway. Like, and the security did nothing. So continue.
If security tried to stop the Wake Forest students from being on the court, then every Wake Forest student is Aaron Donald, because they got where they were trying to get to, and they got there fast. Wake Forest got a whole student section of Aaron Donalds if the security was trying to keep them out. So it's not security, and it's not money. You know what it is? It is clear rules and clear punishment. No exceptions. This is all you have to do at every school in America. Whenever you're ready to do it, this is it. Hey, guys, you're not allowed on the floor at all. Not before the game, not during the game, not after the game. If you are a student and you get on the floor, and this is extreme, I get it, and we could dial this back a little bit, but just for the sake of the conversation, let's go extreme. You come on that floor after a game, I don't care what your reason is, you're dismissed from school. You're expelled. It's over. $62,000 down the drain. All right? I'm sure somebody will test it. Let them test it. Expel them all. It will not be tested again. And if it ever is tested again, expel them all. You know, this is our second most popular storming in America. The other one's Capitol storming. Well, what did we do there? We said, you can't do that. Now you got to go to jail. All right?
And how many went to jail?
I think a pretty good bit. Not all of them, but
you think it was more than 1%? I don't know about that.
I don't know. We got who we could get. All right.
Yeah.
We got who we could get.
Parrish comes back to the plan where he wants to arrest, 747 people.
I'm fine with it. All I'm telling you is we don't have to overwhelm security at Kroger to make sure everybody's not running out of there with hamburger meat. All right? You just tell people you can't run out of here with hamburger meat without paying for it. And if you do, we're going to arrest you, and you're going to have to deal with that. Same thing here. Just tell people you can't do this, and if you do it, this is what's going to happen to you, and they'll stop doing it. That's as easy. It's not complicated. I don't know why people make it out to be.
This was the first sellout of the Joel since 2017. Wake Forest wins 83-79 before all that. And you know what? Credit to John Shire for this, because he did say in his post-game statement, we're not going to play on the pod because you've heard it. If you're listening, you've heard it. We're not going to take up more time with this. But he said, I don't want this to take away from what Wake Forest did. And he's right. Wake Forest right now, it's 15-0 on its home floor, man. And I mentioned this on the Friday pod. Like, it hasn't been this good at home since Chris Paul was playing there almost 20 years ago. They ended a streak of 6 straight losses against AP-ranked opponents. Hunter Salas continues to be just something else, man. He had 29 points in this game. It was the most by any player against Duke so far this season. He's averaging 18.7 points, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 43.5% from beyond the arc. I'll talk about Salas with Forbes, and that'll be in the court report, because I'm really intrigued to see, Forbes' latest transfer to come in and him just unlocking something. Salas was an identified talent, went into Gonzaga, but he's a completely different player there. So impressive. Duke gave, and in terms of the gameplay, like, Duke had 4 turnovers in the final minute 40, including the one where Filipowski didn't see it coming. Like, Duke didn't even get the shot off, and Wake was on fire. 1.36 points per possession. It was absurd, man. So Wake gets a good win, and I would have Wake in the field right now, but it has more work to do. And maybe this will be the win that really gets them on the track to get it done. But there's still stuff on the resume that they're far from a lock. Obviously, I mean, beyond that, they need to turn around this week and make sure they don't drop a game. Meantime, if I can fold in the other ACC result tied to all this, by nature of Duke losing, GP, Carolina went on the road and won at Virginia, 54-44. Virginia can't crack 50 anymore. Okay, and Carolina now is a game up in the ACC standings, and so now if it does what it's supposed to do, and even if it were to lose against Duke, it would have a share of the ACC regular season championship, which is a big deal for UNC. Virginia's just narrowly dodging the Dayton portion of the bracket at this point, but it's going the wrong way. It was 5 of 30 from the field in the first half in that game. It was an ugly game in UNC. I know Tar Heel fans know this, but if you're unfamiliar, it got mentioned a number of times in the broadcast. Hadn't won at Virginia in 12 years. So they win for the first time in 9 tries there. They finally get a win. And Cormac Ryan has been tremendous as of late. He had 18 points in the game, GP, and he is 16 of 32, 50% from beyond the arc in his last 4 games, averaging 15 points in that stretch. Extremely impressive from UNC to go on the road and just not allow Virginia to get out of its funk. So in terms of on-court stuff or any other takeaways from Wake, Duke, and UNC UVA, what do you got for me?
Well, Wake, Duke, you said it accurately about Hunter Salas. He's been unlocked. And I think I said this before, but this is the best example among the best examples people should hold up when other coaches try to talk about the transfer portal and the one-time transfer waivers and the 6-time transfer waivers have led to young people not learning how to fight through adversity and young people running from adversity. Well, Hunter Salas was at Gonzaga for 2 years after being a McDonald's All-American. He barely played. He never even averaged 5 points per game. You only get, I know we're in the COVID stuff, so maybe 5 years, but in normal times, 4 years to do this. 4 seasons of college basketball. Who wants to spend them sitting on the bench? So Hunter Salas, super talented guy, clearly, decides, you know what? I don't want to just keep sitting on the bench, wasting my college career. Let me go try something else somewhere else. And now he's averaging 18.7 points at Wake, shooting 43.5% from 3. Obviously, I talked to Forbes today that Hunter Salas comes up. He says he just was lacking confidence when he got here. Because you would if you're a McDonald's All-American and you've just been on the bench for 2 years.
You want to write the court report at this point?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I feel like this is when I just randomly brought up Miles Rice and I saw your face sink.
No, we're good. No, I think Forbes frankly called out some other media folks. So I think he's all like Team CBS at this point. And no, I'm just talking.
So Hunter Salas, he wasn't running from adversity. He was running for the chance to have a better college career, and he's having it. And now he's the latest, maybe one and done Wake transfer. I mean, who's better at taking a transfer? And you're like, oh, I guess that'll be fine. And then it just boom, he's averaging 20 points a game. Hunter Salas, Tyree Appleby, Alondas Williams, Jake LaRavia. That's just in the past few.
Literally, just write my court report. This is literally what I'm going to write about. So
okay, enough about Wake. I'm done. I ain't saying I'm not saying any more words about Wake. To Virginia. Well, okay, North Carolina won for the first time in a long time at Virginia. Well, you only need 45 points to win at Virginia these days. That's all it takes. All right? Yeah. I mean, the past 3 games, it's 49, 41, and 44. These dudes have been in the 40s 3 straight games. They're 188th in adjusted offensive efficiency. My little guy's playing 7-year-old basketball. His team might get to 40. His team could get to 50 if Lil Lou got hot from the perimeter. So I don't, like I said in recent weeks, that Virginia, Tony is amazing. He's a Hall of Fame coach. But this must be frustrating to watch. I mean, I would, if I were a fan of a college basketball team and I was watching Alabama, Kentucky, and then I had to turn that on, I'd be like, this is not fun.
It's wild. And because it's Virginia, it's entirely within reason that we look up and it's just in the ACC championship game. And after this dreadful run here, we look and it's won 6 out of the past 7. I don't think it's going to happen, but because it's Tony Bennett and it's Virginia, always keep that in mind. We got a lot still to get to. We got a whole whip around. Michigan State got beat up, but we haven't gotten to it yet. So